This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com. Former Razorback. He's played in Liberty Bowl Stadium. It was awfully cold that night. That's what I remember. Broderick, first off, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you?
Well, I'm doing well. You know, I was thinking about that game, and the one thing that I think about is how cold it was. Maybe the coldest I've ever been watching a game. I wonder about playing in a game. Is that the coldest you've ever been?
Easily the coldest game I've ever played in.
Man,
what do you remember about that night? What do you remember about that night?
There were lots of hand warmers being used. There were lots of heaters on the sideline. There were lots of stiff muscles and stiff moments, and but it was fun.
Roger, what was your experience in Memphis like for the fans that are making their way there today or the ones that are already there? What was something you guys did that you remembered off the field?
I went and had bread pudding at B.B. King's, and oh my God.
Oh man, I did not eat last time I was there, but we did experience B.B. King's. Was that definitely your favorite part?
You know, it was B.B. King's. It was Rendezvous. It was tons of different places, and you know, just the atmosphere was cool, and seeing all the people walking around. You know, that little tourism feel. Even though I wasn't from too far away, it was still a great place to be, and you know, nice atmosphere.
Well, Broderick, the weather conditions are going to be much more mild for the game today than they were when you played there, 12, 13 years ago. Time is getting by as that was the first part of the end of the 2009 season. A lot has changed with this offense, and when you watched this year and you've watched the last couple of years and you see K.J. Jefferson, much different than the Ryan Mallett you played with and later on with Tyler Wilson. What's your thoughts and what's your evaluation of this offense that's based on this RPO with K.J. Jefferson?
You know, it was totally different from the type of offense we ran. I mean, obviously we threw the ball probably, 30, 40 times a game. I mean, but with the quarterbacks we had, I mean, can you blame us? But, two totally different styles, totally different quarterbacks. But, KJ's a guy, he comes in, he runs the ball a lot. He's got size to him. He's aggressive, fights for extra yardage. He's a leader out there. And, he does what he can and puts his body on the line to try to help us win. So, I think he did a good job out there. And, the fans really like him. He seems to have built a good reputation with the team. And, I think he's going to try to help us out a lot this year.
Broderick, when I talk to former players, the one thing I hear them say over and over again is, man, I wish I was playing right now for all this NIL stuff and the opportunities and the portal and all that. And, we just came around 10, 15 years too soon. What do you think when you look at what's going on in college ball right now with some of the money that's being tossed around and people moving around seemingly all the time?
Honestly, the players deserve it. I remember those days in college where, you barely have enough food to eat. You have so much stuff going on that you don't have time to work, and you try to work it sometimes in the summer, but your schedule's filled every day. And, I mean, sometimes you're up 4 a.m. and you're not getting home until 11:30 at night. And you may have had an hour break, at the most 2 hours throughout the entire day. And so I'm like, hey, compensate these guys. Yes, they deserve it. You're using their likeness. There's so much money that they make, and these players, can barely eat, barely have enough food at times. Hey, they deserve it. A meal card from a cafeteria isn't enough. So, hey, I see no issue with it as far as the pay, but at the same time, I feel like they may need to put a little cap on it or something, just because you got so many players hopping around schools now and trading teams and doing it for the wrong reason and leaving to, oh, my money's worth here, I'm going here, all this. Like, at the same time, play for the love of the game. There's nothing wrong with being paid, but play for the love of the game.
It seems like there's still guys out there. I mean, we get cynical and we think, man, everybody's in it for the money. And there's nothing wrong with being in it for the money. I'm not saying, we're all in it for the money to a certain extent, but it does seem like there are a lot of guys out there that still play for the love of the game. And I just wonder, as a former player, if that's one of the things you notice when you watch players now and try to determine, hey, do they really love this? Because those are the guys that ultimately are going to do well for you, I would think.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like I said, I mean, I was a guy that tore my ACL and was supposed to be out the entire year, but because I love the game so much and love my teammates and I wanted to help us out, I battled and did what I could, rehabbed, and came back in months.
Yeah. Broderick Green with us here on the Morning Rush. Broderick, when you look at Sam Pittman and the direction he's taking this program, his leadership style, the way he creates relationships, what comes to mind to you as a former player after we'd been through such a kind of a lean, dark time? Where are you at now with this program in your estimate as a former player?
I met Coach Pittman once or twice, and I mean, he seemed like a really cool guy. And I didn't know him as well, but before he came, I reached out to a lot of the players that I knew that, played for him. And everyone I talked to was like, man, Coach, hey, Coach Pittman's the real deal. Hey, he's a player's coach. Man, you're going to love him. Watch, he's going to change the program. I'm telling you, Pittman's the real deal. I'm like, all right, cool. And, just seeing the impact he's had on the team and those little cliche quotes and, the recruiting and what he's done for the state, in the time he's been there. I just feel like, he's in a rough patch right now. And all coaches go through it. It's the rebuilding phase. And, things happen. Players leave, players transfer, people graduate. It's a part of it. Every year it happens. But we believe in him. We got his back. And it is one of those things where, hey, we're just going to have to bring in some good recruiting and, get the team to buy in and understand we're rebuilding and we got to start over.
Broderick, last question from us, and we appreciate you making time for us this morning. You took advantage of a transfer coming in from USC back to home in Arkansas as a Little Rock guy. When you notice the in-state talent that you played with, how do you think that stacks up to what's currently in Arkansas high school football?
We had a lot of in-state talent, and a lot of guys were able to get away, including myself. And it's one of those things where you got to recruit hard in state. You got to keep the guys here. During my time, I didn't feel like I was valuable. I didn't feel like I had a role, and I didn't feel like I was wanted because of how my process went. And guys want to feel like, hey, you want me to be a part of your program. You want to use me in a certain way, in a certain light. And how can I come in and help the team? And if you don't give off that vibe, guys are going to go elsewhere. Guys are going to go where, now they're going to get the NILs and the NIL deals. And, I know you want players to come in with the passion and just say, hey, just play the game here because you love it and whatever. We're not going to pay you. At the same time, now with the new style, yes, find the guy with the heart, but at the same time, you got to pay the players. You don't have to pay them all, but at the same time, we can't go with the old school mindset and just be like, oh, nah, I'm not paying nobody. Because, you're not going to get any players now with this new NIL thing. And players are going to constantly go to other schools and start fishing around. So, I just think it's one of those things where I ain't saying you got to pay everybody, but don't be afraid to if you have to, because, sometimes it is what it is.
Broderick Green, former Razorback running back, was on that 2009 team that played in the 2010 Liberty Bowl. A great game against East Carolina. A cold day that night. Broderick, we really appreciate your time this morning, man. Appreciate catching up with you.
No problem. Thank y'all for having me. Go Hogs.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.